I am your host Salim bin Mohammed Rafi, and this is my YouTube channel Zamir Universal. What is it you do when someone in your family does not cooperate, does not believe in the right of mother, father, government, or neighbor, or any other human being which looks like him, has equal rights to exist, and becomes a rogue or a vagabond, or as you say, a mafia, a killer, a baby killer, and calls himself a Jew, hides behind a religion which he absolutely is not, calls himself a Palestinian belonging to that thing, and if you test his DNA, has nothing to do with thousands of years of any Jew. He is not son or grandson of any Jewish person. And you have a bunch of rogues, bunch of vagabonds, bunch of criminals, land grabbers, who were left as leftover, as you are eating food and you keep your leftovers and put it to dogs. Instead of putting those leftover to dogs, they, from Poland, one of them, Chokiski, his name now Netanyahu, and you see what a havoc this single person is playing, and he is hiding behind the religion, Judaism, which he has nothing to do with it. For matter of convenience, he puts a little black cap on his center of the head, and which is symbolic. He drinks, he is womanizer, he is criminal, there are many criminal cases against him, and he is one against the other. He is defying the courts of International Court of Justice for genocide which he is doing, and his recent which he bombed, and you see the tents, you see the camps, the art last sort of shelter for them. With all these words, he said it is safe for you to move, and been throwing leaflets, and you could see the cunning and criminal nature of this person. And the whole, you see, most Jews from even Israel, many of which are not practicing Jews, but they are at least human. This man is a beast, he is not even a human. And so is his father. And I'm sorry to use this word, but he is his father. There's hardly one or two American presidents who I cannot say they are his father, and he is their illegitimate child. I give you just a little glimpse of Harry Truman, which was the actual father of Zionism, which found this land and stabbed the back of the Palestinian, and see what he is saying, that gradually we will get it there, otherwise there will be a reaction. The Zionists want the whole of Palestine in a plate for them, and which can't be done. Now he is talking about this thing, remember, 75 years ago when he was the president. And so you can see, and you count dozens of presidents after that in the United States, with the exception of John F. Kennedy, and you see there's another one who in Iran's there, the one who gave, and Eisenhower. They gave a shut-up call to these Jews. One of them was assassinated. The other was only a president for single term. And this you can see for yourself. After Eisenhower and Kennedy, you can see that the present puppy dog, which is this, he says you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, which is your Sleepy Joe. You can have every strongest word for this man, so that it's time for this America and this to be thrown out of the international, all the bodies, and that can only be done if this pseudo empire now, with no power, with the money owning in trillions, with their government bonds held with China. So you can see him providing your tax money of the Americans. So you are helpless, you are herd of cattle. You live in a farm, so the America is a farm, and all that money you earn, and your children and your father did it is going to go to their illegitimate child, which was, from Great Britain, and the Americans at that time, they carved that piece of Holy Land and gave it to the Zionists as prestige. See the conflict. See what they've done in Raffa, and complete disregard for International Criminal Court for his arrest warrants, complete disregard for Intercourt of Justice, and you see the dare of the Speaker of the United States calling him to address. Damn you, that shows your filthy face. That shows how dirty, filthy, and how criminal you are. That you are asking a criminal, a war criminal, to come and address the joint session. What would you all look like? You will be sitting there like pygmies, small, tiny pygmies, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Put your faces behind in the color and see for yourself, and you will see how dirty, how filthy you are. You are not humans. So I am talking to the whole of Congress and the Senate, with the exception of those who have raised their voice and then they are labeled as anti-Semitism. Damn hell, there is no such thing as Semitism. Semites are Palestinian, mostly they are Arabs. So it's nothing to do with this. These are liars, cheaters, and so just completely throw them out, and throw them out of all international bodies when they don't recognize, and arrest them. Arrest both Joe Biden, that bloody, all senators who wrote their right to that, and then all those people who are all the time, because they are the one who are paid. They are paid by epics, and all the expenses, even they are provided young boys and young girls for them to rape them. And you know that island, the guy who committed suicide. So it's all Mossad, Jews. So how come you are a Christian country? You're not. You are all a Zionist country, the whole of America. So those who do not want this label, it's better to get rid of these few who are there. Ban epic, ban all Jewish influence there, get them out of your country, bar them as you did to the Japanese after the Second World War, or put them out in the jungles. Don't care for their money. Have your honor and democracy if you want to save yourself. Or remember this, that the empires like you are already disintegrated, so has Israel. Look at your internationally where you stand today, and look how isolated both of you are. The United States, you are alone, and soon you will, the blackened face will be thrown out of all the international bodies. And imagine how indignant, insulted all the Americans will feel who elected you. So it's about time that you get rid of this and vote for the new party, the Green Party, the party who has emerged from the young students demonstrating in the United States and now spread all over the world.
People in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of them to be pleased. We had all sorts of objections to everything that was done. Something had to be done. We went ahead and done it, and had it done, and now it's working out. Eventually, I think we'll have them all satisfied. But it's going to take a great deal of time yet to get the job done.
Could you tell us that they were worried about war with the Arabs?
Top story is about the Israeli strike on Rafah. Particularly, it's about one man's recklessness, brazen and selfish pursuit of political power. Just take a look at the pictures on your screen. This is the city of Rafah today. Do you hear that? That's a sound of pain and anguish. Over the weekend, Israel turned Rafah into hell on earth. Those are the words of the United Nations. Israel's strike on Rafah killed at least 40 people in a tent camp.
Her husband and the one in her stomach. She was the only one we had. She was the only one, and she's gone. She was the only one.
As shocking images came out of Rafah showing mass casualties, world leaders once again condemned Israel's action, urging it to observe the Friday ruling of the International Court of Justice. Israel's military stated that Sunday's air attack was based on precise intelligence. They claimed to have eliminated 2 Hamas fighters. However, if the strike was based on precise intelligence, how did they manage to kill 35 civilians? Isn't the death of 2 Hamas operatives at the cost of 35 Palestinian lives a reckless gamble, to say the least? The attack took place in the Tel al-Sultan neighborhood, where thousands were sheltering after Israeli forces began their ground offensive over 2 weeks ago. From the Israeli strike, more than half of the dead were women, children, and elderly people. Health officials in Hamas-run Gaza saying that the death toll was likely to rise as more people caught in the blaze were in a critical condition with severe burns. By daylight, the camp that Israel attacked was a smoking wreckage of tents, twisted metal and charred belongings. Hospitals in Rafah, including the International Committee of the Red Cross Field Hospital, were unable to handle all the wounded. Some were moved to hospitals in Khan Yunis, which is located further north in Gaza. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees called the situation horrifying. In a tweet, they summed up the situation saying, and I'm quoting, "Gaza is hell on earth." The French President Emmanuel Macron said he was outraged over Israel's attacks. So did Germany. The EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell urged Israel to follow the International Court of Justice ruling. In West Asia, in fact, also Qatar, Egypt, Saudi Arabia condemned the Israeli attack. On Monday, amid the global outcry, Israel's top military prosecutor called the airstrike very grave. She said that an investigation was underway and said that the IDF regrets any harm to civilians. Listen to this.
Naturally, in a war of such scope and intensity, difficult events also happen. Some incidents, like last night's incident in Rafah, are very grave. The details of yesterday's incident are still under an investigation, which we are committed to conducting to the fullest extent. The IDF regrets any harm to non-combatants during the war.
Still, despite the global outcry, Israeli tanks continued to bombard eastern as well as central areas of Rafah on Monday. 8 more people lost their lives. All this is the reckless pursuit of one man's goal. I am talking about Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You see, in the past few weeks, 2 international courts, both based in The Hague, have tried to hold Israel accountable for its actions. While the top prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, ICC, has sought arrest warrants for Netanyahu, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, has ordered Israel to halt its offensive on Rafah. Decisions by both the courts have been met with fury in Israel, and Netanyahu has also reacted with a lot of anger. Despite the ICJ ruling, despite international censure, despite its closest ally, the US, warning against it, Israel has continued to be reckless as far as the lives of Palestinians are concerned. Time and again, the Israeli Prime Minister has brazened it out. He called the ICC prosecutor anti-Semitic. He has flouted international rules of law. He has tried to threaten and intimidate international court. He has rejected multiple truce calls, even when Hamas accepted the last one. He has banned media organizations. He has defied Israel's only staunch ally, and he has shown no signs of altering the strategy. It's a pattern of recklessness. The opinion among foreign policy experts is this, that Netanyahu's wartime decision-making is mainly motivated by his personal interest of staying in power. That Netanyahu is essentially dragging out the war for as long as possible for his own political survival. And why, you may ask? You see, he knows that the moment the war comes to a halt, Israelis will focus even more resolutely on investigating the failures of October 7. They will push for early elections to vote him out of office. He knows the pressures he is facing within his own country. Families of the hostages are leading calls for a ceasefire. Since late January, Israeli citizens have been pushing for early elections and the removal of Netanyahu. And then on Sunday, opposition leader and former Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid accused Netanyahu of trying to cause anarchy. This after Netanyahu's 32-year-old son shared a video that appeared to show a reservist calling for a mutiny against the country's defense minister, Yoav Gallant. The Israeli military said it was launching an investigation. The incident marked a bad week for Netanyahu's government. The longer the world allows this recklessness to continue, the more the Palestinians will suffer. Netanyahu is clearly reluctant to accept any end to the war as of now, and he will continue to claim that the only way to bring back the hostages is through military pressure against Hamas in Rafah. But you see, the longer the Israeli guns roar in Gaza, the longer that goal will take to be achieved. How long then will Netanyahu be allowed to be reckless? Till peace is given a chance. And as Israel's Rafah offensive rages on, Iran-backed Lebanese outfit Hezbollah has issued a big warning to Israel. Hezbollah has warned Israel that it is preparing for a surprise attack. In a televised speech, Hezbollah's Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah told Israel to be ready for surprises. Exactly what kind of surprises? Remember, Hezbollah, which emerged as a strong force during the Lebanon civil war, has been engaged in fighting Israel in a show of support, basically, for the Palestinians in Gaza. The Lebanon-based group has exchanged fire with Israel at Israel's northern border for months now. Now, Hezbollah says that Israel's own leaders have admitted they have still not achieved any of the goals in the Gaza war. And this follows Israeli National Security Council head Zachi Hanegbi's admission that they have not still achieved any of their strategic goals and
are taking different position than that has been taken in relation to the situation in Palestine, including Spain, Ireland, including also recognizing Palestine, but also Belgium, Norway, and many others. So what we're witnessing now is the emergence of a different opinion in the European continent by states who are saying that this ruling must be complied with, including Germany. I think there was a statement by German officials that this order is binding. The question is how the European Union will ensure that Israel complies with this order. As you and your viewers may already know, international law does not have an enforcement mechanism, and such order is worth what states make of it and how they utilize it to ensure compliance. So the question is, will the European Union and the individual European states continue, for example, their relations with Israel and business as usual, or will we see sanctions on Israel and other repercussions? Of course, it's long overdue for Western states to impose sanctions in Israel, severe diplomatic relations, stop importing Israeli settlements goods, stop exporting arms to Israel, to the Israeli apartheid regime. Western states in general are complicit in these crimes, especially the U.S. To be honest, the Palestinian victims who are being shattered apart, especially in Rafah, like we saw in the targeting of tents in a designated safe area. Israel must halt its operation. Israel's response was to target civilians in a safe, allegedly designated safe area, and then claimed once again it's a mistake. So I think at this stage, one must not be fool enough to entertain Israel's lies. Israel is lying while we speak. Amy, just now I received the news that Israel has targeted another gathering of tents in Al-Mawasi area, west the Rafah government, where Israel also designated it as a safe area. The primary reporting indicates that over 20 persons have been torn apart by this bombing. The primary beginning Al Ahli hospital is just sensing the pulse, how the international community will react to targeting civilians in a hospital. And unfortunately, the international community has not lived up to the responsibility, has allowed such monstrous acts. And then it continued. We saw how many hospitals have been targeted based on this lies. And this is a deliberate act, Mimi, because it's with a genocidal mentality and intent to destroy any safe spot needed for or essential to the survival of the civilian population. And hospitals would be on top of that list.
Ahmed, I want
ideology that is premised on the elimination of the indigenous Palestinians to replace them in their land, supported by Western complicity in such atrocity crimes.
Ahmed Abuful, I want to thank you for being with us, and also condolences on the loss of 80 members of your family. Ahmed is Senior Legal Research and Advocacy Officer at the Palestinian human rights organization Al-Haq. And just to be exact in my quoting of the Michigan Democratic Congress member Rashida Tlaib, the only Palestinian American in Congress, she posted on social media, quote, "The whole world is taking action to stop the genocide of Palestinians, including the International Court of Justice."
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। हैरान कुन बात यह है कि जब सारी उम्मत मुस्लिमा के 57 मुल्क झुक गए इजराइल के आगे, उनमें से एक दो को निकाल के, तो तब गैरों ने साथ इस वक्त देने का फैसला किया। यूरोपीय यूनियन ने काया पलट दी है और उन्होंने गेम भी सारी उलट दी है। उन्होंने ऐलान कर दिया है कि अगर इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस का फैसला मंजूर नहीं होता और आईसीसी यानी इंटरनेशनल क्रिमिनल कोर्ट जो है, जो भी इंटरनेशनल सतह से आलमी अदालत से फैसले आ रहे हैं, अगर इसराइल में इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं होते तो पूरा यूरोप यानी यूरोपीय यूनियन इसराइल पर पाबंदियां आयद करने के लिए जा रहा है। ये अब तक की सबसे बड़ी डेवलपमेंट है, और इस डेवलपमेंट के बाद जो सबसे अहम तरीन काम ये है, उस पर आप जितना अप्रिशिएट करें, जितना करें।
यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें, उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर